Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my Why You Should Pull Yelan video. And in this video, I'll basically try to promote Yelan's upcoming banner, but telling you why you should pull for her and give you a small free-to-play damage showcase. So grab some snacks, sit back, and watch me ramble about the hottest and my all-time favorite character in this game, Yelan. But now, why should you pull for Yelan and why do I like her so much? Well, the short answer is that she's pretty amazing, but the long answer is that she's an extremely useful and all-round a balanced unit. I mean, I've gotten countless 5 stars and I usually stop playing them after a while, but even after months from her release, I still use Yelan, which might be because she just feels like an amazing unit for pretty much everything. Exploration, farming, Spiral Abyss, you name it, she can do it. Another reason why I like Yelan so much is because when you use her elemental skill, she does this wraith-like dash and travels really quickly. In fact, her dash is almost as fast as Sayu's. And if you put her with 2 Anemo units, you'll have the perfect team for exploration. And this is also the team that I use when I have to farm some mats or have to travel through that godforsaken desert. And if you happen to have a first constellation, which gives her 2 dashes, you can use them again and again. Pair this up with a Sayu roll and you'll never have to sprint ever again. Also, whoever's fixed her issues with the dash that caused her to get stuck everywhere. By the way, Yelan's elemental skill ends exactly next to the crafting bench in Inazuma. Also, you might have noticed that Yelan is quite tall, which also helps with exploration because the taller you are, the faster you're gonna travel. And height matters when it comes to sprinting, climbing, and swimming. Now, I don't really know how to explain this point, but she's just like a very fun unit to play. There's just something satisfying about having that dice thing in the back, just casually throwing arrows and doing good damage. Even using an elemental skill is quite fun. You run past a group of mobs and they hand you over their materials. Also, to farm for Yelan's artifacts, you're most likely going to be doing the Shimnawa emblem domain, and that domain is easily one of the most resin efficient domains in the game. The emblem set is pretty much the go-to set for pretty much every single burst focused character in this game, and these characters are some of the strongest we have. But even if you get the Shimnawa drops, you can still use that on your supports or your DPSs because the 2-piece Shimnawa bonus is kind of universal. And this set is amazing if you're a free-to-play player because you're most likely going to be using the Favonius bow, which gives ER, and this emblem set uses ER to increase burst damage. This will also help you maintain your energy and get good damage. But if for some reason you don't want to farm the goat of all artifacts, you could just give a Noblesse, Tenacity, or even the Heart of that set. Just mix and match any of these 2 pieces to get a good crit to ER ratio, and she's gonna do alright. And now, speaking of artifacts and builds, let's also talk about the weapon options because she's very free-to-play friendly. So if you're a free-to-play player, you'll most likely use a Sacrificial, Favonius, or that Event Bow. I'd recommend going with the Fav Bow because of the ER substat and its passive, which helps you get your burst back. And this also goes hand in hand with the emblem set's bonus. And also, you probably already have a couple of these in your inventory because everyone gets this bow for free after completing Mondstadt's Archon quest, and it also gets better with each refinement. But if you decide on the weapon banner, I have some great news for you. Yelan's signature weapon, the Aqua Simulacra, is the most universal 5-star bow in the game. What makes this thing even better, other weapon on the banner is the Staff of Homer. And you can probably tell how good this banner is by my reaction to it. Dude, please, Yelan with Hu Tao. Yelan with Hu Tao. That's all I want. That's all I want. Please. Dude, the weapon banner is gonna be so good. We take those, dude. That's like the best weapon banner ever. So even if you lose the 50-50 here, you'll either end up with the most universal bow in the game or the most universal spear in the game. And this is the only weapon banner where I'll give you the Yabo seal of approval to pull on. By the way, I'll be pulling for both of these weapons live on Twitch, so go follow me there. The link is in the pinned comment. Another great thing about Yelan is that her early constellations are amazing. With the C1, you get another one of her dashes, which makes her do more overall damage and also reduces her energy requirements. And this also helps you with exploration. Even her C2 makes her do more burst damage. She's honestly one of those characters who does not have a single bad constellation. But with that being said, you don't need them. She's perfectly fine at C0. In fact, I've used her at C0 since she came out, and I can assure you that you don't need any of them because there's nothing good ratios or proper rotations cannot solve unless you're there. Now, you probably already know that Xingqiu is one of the most used characters in the game because of his great synergy with a lot of different characters because he can apply a lot of Hydro really well, and Yelan works just like him. And getting her kind of means that you have 2 Xingqius, and who wouldn't like having a copy of a very versatile unit? And having both of them can allow you to, let's say, use Hu Tao Wape in one chamber and use Hyperbloom Raiden in another. But now, let's stop the Xingqiu praise for a second because he has an issue that you might have noticed that no one really talks about, and it's none other than his burst. You know that his burst swords travel linearly, meaning that they go straight, which means that these guys can miss if your enemies can teleport or move around a lot. But this does not happen with Yelan because her burst is more dynamic, meaning that it follows enemies around until it hits it. This might sound like a very small pro at first, but it can come in very handy if you plan to play someone like Yoimiya with her, because you need to make sure that she waves the right hits, and this could come in clutch for some mobile players as well. And now, a couple of updates back, Hoyo was also buffed the Hydro Resonance. And now, if you have 2 Hydro units in your party, your max HP will be increased by 25%, which is great for Yelan because people often use Xingqiu with her. Xingqiu will not only help you manage your energy, but also increase Yelan's damage because she scales off HP. And if you plan to use Yelan with Hu Tao, this double Hydro HP increase also helps Hu Tao as well. Also, what I've noticed for playing Genshin for almost 2 years now is that support units usually have a higher shelf life than other DPS units. Mainly because unlike DPS units, supports can be used with a wider number of units and team comps. And Yelan is no different because she's a lady that can do it all. Now you already know that she's pretty much best friends with pretty much all the power units. But you can also use her with characters like Fischl, Kazuha, Raiden, Xiangling and some other units as well. There are also way too many ways of playing her. She's a great unit if you like to use or experiment with different team comps. And finally, let's talk about the most important point, which is self-explanatory. She is hot. I usually like to keep my videos very PG, but I gotta say, Yelan looks really good. I wasn't really into her when I saw her drip marketing, but she kinda grew on me. And all I'm gonna say is, there are around 4 billion women on Earth, and God decided to make Yelan the hottest one of them all. But now let's look at something that you're here for. Let me quickly show you how much damage my near perfect Yelan build does. So this is my Yelan's build. She's level 90 with 35,000 HP. She has 66 crit rate and 180 crit damage. For the weapons, I'm of course using the Favonius bow. For the artifacts, I have the 4-piece emblem set on her. And here are my individual pieces real quick. She's of course at Constellation 0 and the talents are at 6, 8 and 9. So now let me show you her damage with and without the Hydro Resonance. But now, let's also go over 5 major reasons why you should not pull for Yelan. I mean, you probably will, but I have come up with some points to help you save those PP gems. So first, let's start with the obvious reason, Miss Dia. She's one of the most anticipated and the most simped over releases that we're gonna see. And for better or for worse, I've seen pretty much everyone talk about her. And as if Dia wasn't enough, we might also be seeing a Shenna or even a Eula rerun happening soon. Because it has actually been more than a year since their last reruns. So if you're tight in those PP gems, you should get the character that you've been saving for first, because Yelan will sooner or later get another rerun, right? Let's also talk about the most annoying thing about Yelan, and it's none other than the boss that you're gonna have to fight to ascend her. Not only does this Ruined Serpent has like 2 billion HP, but this also moves around all the time. And you have to wait like 5 years for this to come down. I don't know who asked for tougher bosses, but they better sleep with their eyes open. Another problem with Yelan is the high energy requirements. Now, because Yelan is a burst focus unit, you need to ensure that she has a good balance of energy recharge and crit, which can be very hard to get. But these problems don't really come with a counterpart, Xingqiu. This guy might have a higher burst cost than Yelan, but he also generates way too many hydro particles that you don't have to think much about funneling energy to him, especially if you're using a sacrificial sword on him. Now, you could offset Yelan's energy issues by giving her teammates Favonius, or by even using Xingqiu. But still, in my opinion, Xingqiu has an advantage when it comes to having fewer or at times no energy issues. And now, speaking of Xingqiu, Yelan also does not provide some of his other really cool pros. So if you don't know, Xingqiu gives you 3 unique benefits that are extremely useful in a lot of different teams that Yelan simply cannot give you. The first is interruption resistance, which might not sound all that important, but if you're playing units like Yoimiya or Hu Tao without a shielder, this can come in somewhat handy. The second one is Hydro Rush Shred, if you have a second constellation, which not only increases his damage, but also makes him a good support for other Hydro teams. And now, finally, the third one is healing, which gives you general survivability and can be good for teams that don't have a healer in them, like Hu Tao's. And on top of this, Xingqiu's burst also applies more Hydro to the enemy, which is very important for Hu Tao wave teams. Now, even though Yelan is my favorite character, I think she's like a luxury unit to have. If you're not planning on using your Xingqiu, or if you already have him at C6, there's no real reason for you to get Yelan. To be honest, you should only pull for her if you're in need of 2 Hydro appliers for your DPSs, or if you just like Yelan's personality, gameplay, or her as a character. And if you pull for these reasons, you won't regret getting her. So yeah, Yelan is amazing and I hope you win your 50-50. Also, if you like this video, be sure to sub because only like 6% of my viewers actually sub to the channel. So good luck and I'll see you soon.